And, of course, since it is now the last half hour of the show on a Thursday, that means one thing. That means that somebody's probably on his second cup of coffee, and he's styling and profiling. Niko Moreno, what is up, my friend?
What's up, guys? Happy Thursday. Excited to be on. It is a wet and, a little bit of cold one here in the Pacific Northwest, reminding us that it is fall already. But yes, cup of coffee numero dos. Just waiting for the one and only John to let me know which way we're going today.
Well, I think aren't we starting with Star Wars logos and rebrands and shiny things? Isn't that where we're starting this week? What was it like up there to sit there and see this thing finally revealed? And in honor of the 50th anniversary, you've got a new brand presentation. I give you full credit for bringing the whale back. I thought that was a nice touch. But what was it like to see the Seattle Sounders looking a little different now?
Look, I thought they did it very well. I think that if fans should be proud and happy about a organization, a club that takes their opinion very seriously, is this Seattle fan base. There is no doubt in my mind that when you look at this new crest, it's modern, it's slick, it's clean. It's very usable for other merchandise. It's what kind of was the main point of this very elegant and simple crest. Before it seemed like it was a little bit too busy with everything going on. Honestly, the criticism from South America when you would show that logo and people would find out about the Sounders was that it looked a little bit cartoonish, a little bit too young, I guess, if you want to say it that way. Just it didn't have that real soccer look. Now this is a little bit more European. It feels like it's just a little bit more. It's just a symbol, right? It's kind of like they're going for the new age of. It doesn't need to be in your face. Seattle Sounders. You know what the logo is. You know what the shape of the shield is. That should say Seattle Sounders enough. Now, there's some fair criticism that maybe having the name around the bottom, or at least the FC, would make it a little bit more in your face about it being a soccer shield and not just so generic, not so corporate. And I think that's a fair criticism. But all in all, I think that the Sounders did an excellent job at launching this thing and providing different components to not just the crest, but the Pacific Northwest orca and the orchids and all the other elements that talk about the Pacific Northwest and this soccer community. So I got to applaud them for that.
So, being the guy I know that you are, have you already scoped out what you're getting for the holidays and what you're getting your friends and your fans? Are you sizing up the gear to sit there and go, okay, I'm shopping for this, I'm shopping for this? Do you have your Christmas list all filled out now with this new rebrand?
100%, man. I got a couple of hoodies that I really like, some hats that I thought were pretty dope looking. So I definitely got all my wish list ready to go for my family members. So in my opinion, and by the size of my wish list, you can absolutely tell that I really like the new logo. I like the new rebrand. Despite of it maybe could be a little bit better with a couple of details, sure, but I loved it. I loved all the gear. I mean, some of the new jackets are amazing. So yeah, my wish list is pretty big. I'm gonna be a guy that's going to be putting some money back into the club by purchasing a whole lot of either wear or memorabilia, because I do like my mugs, I do like things for my office. So yes, my wife and my family members are going to have a long list of things to buy for the Seattle Sounders,
especially when you use the word dope. When you drop dope on the show, I know that you're locked in. All right, let's talk about the non-MLS games from last night.
Oh yeah,
the early one. I mean, we admittedly, and I talked about this in hour number one, we give Captain Khaki, Ben Olsen, so much ish because of his being Ben Olsen. I mean, literally, he looks like he stepped out of the library long enough to put his laptop down, chasing after his PhD, to come out, coach a soccer match, be Captain Khaki, turn around and go back in and chase after his degree. Houston is a fun team to watch, and they showed that last night.
Yeah, little would you know that teacher is as fiery as he is, because, man, he is a quick one to get to that next level, right? But, yes, this team has been fun, was fun last night. They're part of our green light club right here at SDH, and rightfully so. I believe that what Ben Olsen has done is it should be applauded, and it can only be overshadowed by the likes of Cardinal there in St. Louis, and that's probably why he won't be coach of the year. But he's done a phenomenal job simplifying the game, making them completely vertical and very systematic. Yesterday, it was all about transition, right? Bassi collects a bad pass from Inter Miami. It's a quick pass up forward for Barrett. Barrett cuts inside down to Arthur. Arthur keeps up his space. Coco Carrasquilla continues his run and takes some defenders with him, opens the door for Dorsey to come on the right side. And Dorsey, that's as defiant as any fullback in this league, just completely hammers that ball in the top 90, and there is nothing that Callender can do. So, yes, this is what we see from Houston, right? Quiñones on the other side, constantly pushing, Coco in the midfield. You got Hector Herrera being finally that leader, that guy that just puts it all together. He is obviously someone that creates that compass and maybe gives him a little bit of a different pace and holds the ball when he needs to and pushes it up when he has to. So this team has been absolutely surprising for me. I did not see this coming this season. One of the most surprising, obviously, right along St. Louis. But yesterday, they put up a show. It could have been 3. Obviously, there was an offside on Quiñones. And in Miami on the other side, it's hard to do it without certain pieces. They still came out. They try to play their game. Tata, if anything else, is always going to have a game plan. I think they try to execute it. They had some chances on goal. I think that if Joseph is a little bit more clinical, maybe this is a 2-2 game there at the very end. But all in all, it was a good game. But it says more about Houston than it does about Miami. I think people were very harsh on Miami and talked about, well, that's what the team is without Alba and without Messi. No, I think that they faced a very good Houston side, and it just showed at the end of the day.
I think, and I went through the numbers with our friends at SofaScore and their analysis of the Houston play, and it looked early on that Houston saw something down their attacking left-hand side, and they went after DeAndre Yedlin.
Yes.
Quiñones put DeAndre Yedlin in the laundromat. I mean, he was in the coin laundry, and he was going to be there for a while, and they just kept feeding quarters to Quiñones, and DeAndre Yedlin was in serious trouble in that first 45.
Yeah, and it wasn't just Quiñones' speed and verticality, but it was also sometimes Corey Barrett would push inside and they would flee. Bassi sometimes would fill up those spaces. There were times where if the ball was on the other side, then Escobar was getting high on that end, and Jalen was just a very busy guy defending, and you could tell his frustration by the PK he gave up. He's definitely late. He's definitely a PK. And it was because of all the work he had to do, constantly having to check his own hip. I can't get forward with ease, with freedom, because I know that I got a lightning bolt in Quiñones, and I don't really know who's going to come up behind me. So, yes, I think that they saw not just the weakness on Jedlin on the defensive side, but they said, who's the more likely fullback to give us issues if he gets to go forward? And that's Jedlin. So by obligating him to defend and anchoring him farther back, they pinned him, and they did a good job at it.
And when Krivtsov ended up with the yellow, that meant that he couldn't be as aggressive as he traditionally is. And so Yedlin has to kind of be two members of the back line at once. He's got to think for himself and do defensive driving and think for Krivtsov, because he can't be as aggressive when it comes to what he wants to do in pushing forward and getting into tackles as well. So DeAndre Yedlin got pinned in, and he had to kind of do two jobs in one, and it was a long day for him. Inter Miami, first half, we went over the numbers, 18-1 in shots for Houston. That, to me, when that number came out, I was like, you got to be ishing me. And it was just, I think, part and parcel to the dominance in the game plan that Captain Kaki put together against Inter Miami.
Absolutely. And they did it by pushing up the lines. This 4-3-3 with this specific lineup does create some spaces, right? Because Busquets could only do so much. Diego Gomez, he was trying to make sure that he didn't have to drop and get so deep. So there were some gaps in between lines, and between Herrera and Arthur and Bassi. They really did a good job at controlling the ball, hitting those pockets of space that Inter Miami was providing. So it was dominant. It was quick. It was a Houston team that, when it came to transition, it was 3 passes. We're just going to hit you as quick as we can behind the lines, and they created a lot of opportunities. Not all were clear on-goal opportunities, but between half chances and shots on goal, man, it was a whole lot of Houston in that first half. And even when Tata tried to adjust, it was clear that if there was a team on the front foot, it was Houston all day long.
Second game last night. I don't know how many folks outside of the West Coast and your time zone actually stayed up to watch this, because, I mean, you had the 2 matches in Major League Soccer, and for MLS, this was one of their TV programmer juggling challenges that gives folks their master's degrees, because you had the East Coast game at 7:30. You had the West Coast game at 9:30, which was a mountain time zone game that had rabid prairie dogs and Vancouver going at each other. Then you had the 2 specialty games rubbing in between all of that stuff. You had Open Cup, and you had the activity in Campeones Cup. And it looked like both of these teams, LAFC and Tigres, put out first-choice lineups, but no goals on the board. It goes to PKs. Tigres gets the win as an underdog at a plus 200 on the juice boxes. How much of Campeones did you watch?
I watched just about the whole game. Thankfully, with MLS Pass, I get to rewind, and I need to watch the game from beginning to end. But like you said, you hit the nail on the head. It was first team lineups and not first team lineup soccer. I mean, honestly, it was a lot more desire and physicalness. It was very imprecise, not a lot of entertainment and good tactical soccer, to be honest. There were mistakes and issues all across the pitch for both sides. Sure, you have some quality players that made it interesting. Quiñones on one side, I thought he was the guy that he's like a magnet. You got to see where he's at. He's fast, he's quick, he's got mid-range shots. And he tried to do it, but he wasn't constant. And it was a very, like I said, imprecise Tigres side all around. And on LAFC, it was a lot of the same. And I'm starting to really see Abuanga game by game just get more alone and just get so isolated at times. And he feels like he has to do it all, and he does this, that, or the other. I think Christian Oliveira was probably the other bright spot on LAFC, but he just doesn't have that final quality, right? That there is a point in the game where he has a beautiful cut through between 2 defenders on the right, on the left side. He is in the 18. He could have curved it into that back second post, top 90, and he just kind of hits it completely off. So there is some talent there. for the future. There's potential, but this is not the LAFC of before that was just a juggernaut, and you could not stop him on the offensive side. And Bella is still very intermediate, and there are like little sparkles and moments of vintage Carlos Vela, but there's just not enough up top. Now, I thought it was interesting that when Palacios got sent off, I thought that they looked a little bit more open. They looked a little bit more free. They were able to get behind the line of Tigres a little bit more, which was very odd. And I will say that Palacios' second yellow, I still don't see it. I think it was non-existent. The second yellow was, if not soft, it was non-existent. Like, it did not happen. And I thought the referee just didn't do a good job on this one. So the best thing out of this game, quite honestly, was the PKs, was the Noel show and all his antics in goal, going side to side, and his facial expressions and all of this. And now I think LAFC's shooters, once again, man, either you shoot it with precision and you place it, or you smack it with everything you got, and you just hope that it goes right through the hand of the goalkeeper. But neither one of those happen here. And Noel's one of the best shot stoppers in CONCACAF, and that's what really makes the difference in this game.
Halftime with Niko Moreno, Thursdays with Niko here on the SDH Network. Soccer Down Here, where we get the Pacific perspective from our friend at El Rolo NW on the Twitters, and at Sports Pulso, and at the Soccer Bar, one of the busiest men in show business, specifically in the Pacific Northwest. All right, time for red light, yellow light, green light. And as we did with our friend Kaylor Hodges from the USL show explaining the rules, we can go either red, yellow, green. We can go green, yellow, red. You can do the same team back-to-back weeks, but you've got to come up with a different reason as to why. You can't just say, oh, more of the same. It has to be a different reason than the week before if you choose to pull that card out of the deck. Where do you want to start this week?
Let's go with the red. Let's go with the red because it's a team that we haven't talked about in a long time, and it's a team that's been between yellow and red. And I'm talking about a Verde team from down south, and that's Austin. I just don't. I don't see Jason Wolf continuing. I think that there will be a change there, one way or another. I really do believe that. His time in Austin is done. This is a team that I get has some firepower. They have some interesting players. And I mean Josh Wolf. I'm sorry, not Jason. Josh Wolf. And I just don't know if the guys are taking in what he's providing anymore. I think that this is a very soft team all around. Defensively, they've had issues in the past, but we used to make excuses, right? There's injuries because Conte's not there. They're having to play with Alex Ring in the back line. It's just wait for certain players to get there. Now they have it all, and they're still a very unbalanced team. I still think that the Diego Fagundes thing was poorly managed, and I think that that's a player that was a game changer for this quad. Now they don't have him. Johan Valencia, I'm starting to really write in. He has been a bust a little bit to the expectation that many of us had in South America for one of the top Colombian prospects in that position. DeRussi has to do it all at times. He has to play sometimes a little higher. He dropped the line yesterday. It's just last weekend against LA, but he's a team with a lot of disarray, a lot of problems, and I just don't see them. I know that they're not looking in playoffs, and that's not why I'm putting them in the red category. I'm just talking about an organization that seemed to have it right. They seemed that Wolf was the guy, that they had the main pieces to be a contender, and they ended up being a pretender, and they showed it this season.
And you know, we'll sit there and our numbers will change when it comes to coaches on the hot seat. I completely understand why you have Verde in the Rojo position, because you would have anticipated a lot more. You would have anticipated a progression when it comes to Austin, and Brad Stuver can only do so much. in saving the folks at the back line. You have you bring in some high-priced folks, different reasons that does not work out. So the money's been invested by Anthony Precourt. And now, and we see this in business all the time, Austin's got a new sporting director. They've got a new technical director. When you bring somebody in from the Manchester City side, they ain't playing around. And I think that we always notice that new dudes want to bring in their guy. And I think that on that reason alone, if Austin doesn't make their way into the playoffs, which at this rate I don't think they are, that new technical director, new sporting director is going to sit there and say, I want to bring in my guys so we can do things philosophically. I mean, I thought the writing was on the wall when they brought in the new DT.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. And not just, I mean, it needs to be rearranged. I'm not going to say bulldozed and start from scratch, but it does need to be rearranged. There's a lot of money in the salary cap that they need to move around. There's guys like Rigoni, in my opinion, that need to go. Obviously, the Rusi is going to be the guy that you keep. What are you going to do with some of these older guys like Finley? I think Gallagher's a stud. There are pieces there, but I think that, yes, you're absolutely right. There is a clear sense that there's going to be some changes made, a new era for Verde. I absolutely love their fan base, their stadium. I'm a big Matthew McConaughey guy, so I like that too. Just all in general senses, I think they've done it right, but the soccer just hasn't been there. And as much as we've had moments where we think, oh, I think they finally figured it out, there's always a setback. And this one is catastrophic this season. We all had them at a different placing in the standings in the West. And the fact that they have not been able to get out of that hole is enough to make anyone go.
And the one thing I will say about Q2 is too small. And sadly, there's only one wing that you can expand a second deck on. Right now, I think it's at 22. It's too small for me. I've been there. I've seen the venue, and they jammed it into an industrial park to where there's no real estate to build out except for in one end zone. And it's the end zone as you're watching the match. You've got the supporter section off to your right. That we know if we're watching on television. Supporter section's off to the right. If you want to build a second deck there, you're taking out the parking for all of your hoity-toity, highfalutin season ticket holders and your officials. The press box side where you're watching has no way to go up to a second level because it's literally the end of the property. There is a walking trail, and then you have a creek, and you have you got office space. Literally, I mean, it's just like a little just like a little thing, but literally, it's a walking trail, a creek, and then office buildings and things like that behind the press box side. On the side opposite the press box, they really don't have a whole lot of space there either. Once again, there's a little bit of space. You might be able to build a second deck, but it would be up. It wouldn't be up and out. It literally would have to go straight up. As you're looking on the TV, it would be to the left because there is open space. There's a meadow and there's like a gathering. There's, like a gathering field, if folks just want to come and hang out and all that kind of stuff, almost like a park setting. That to your left, as you're watching on television, is the only direction that they could easily build a second deck. And that would look really weird just to build that one shoehorn section there. So Q2 is too small for me.
Huh.
I would love to see expansion plans because I've always maintained, and we talked about it here on the show, if you want to come into the league, you got to have 30. You've got to have a stadium that's got 30,000. I think that the NYC stadium that they're planning has 27. I think that's too small. I think you sell yourself short in situations when
Absolutely.
you create a stadium that is too small, and I think Austin created one that's too small.
Huh. Very interesting. What's the capacity on that?
22.
22. Oh, yeah, that is kind of small. Because I thought back in California, well, obviously now BMO Field, for the LAFC, it felt kind of small at times. I mean, compared to obviously Lumen Field. But at the end of the day, I think 30 plus thousand is still pretty decent size. For 22, it is kind of small.
Yeah, seating capacity is 20,738. With standing room, you can get to 22, and you create fire hazards, and folks are on that mid-level, and they're staring at things. So 20,738 is seating capacity at Q2. It needs to be bigger. Who's your yellow light this week?
Yellow light, and bear with me here. Maybe people might think I'm crazy and I'm being unfair, but I think that this team is getting a little too much hype, and I really don't think they're going to do much in the playoffs. And that 2-2 draw against Chicago for the New England Refs showed me that this team is more of a yellow than a green. And I believe that the absence of bye and everything that's happened with the coaching staff. I know Chankalai's been really, really good.
Sign him now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Chankalai, he earned his spot. I'll tell you that right now. He earned that money. And I think he's been very, very good. But even with all that said, I feel like they are a team that could crumble in any single moment. I don't feel like they have that low floor as they did before. The little bit of leadership issues there. The midfield is way too spread out. I don't feel like there is a big disruptor. I know Polster they're riding him until the wheels fall out. But even then, I feel like he's very limited on what he can do in the East. Woo! That's a bad place to be, a bad neighborhood to have very poor midfield on, and that's what they have. So Chicago, I think like they're one of the punching bags in MLS. You should be able to do more against a team like Chicago, and yet you allow this team to draw. You allow this team to get you into bad positions. You allow this team in certain moments of the game to take the ball away from you. I thought that there were moments where Chicago was the more dangerous team across those 90 minutes, and that's not something that should happen to a team like the New England Revolution. So that's why I want to put them on the yellow, because people are way too hyped on this team, and I think that there's a reality check that's coming for this New England Revolution team. And I'm not going to say it's just the Bruce Arena effect. I think that there has been injuries, there have been issues, there have been changes, and they're going to feel that here coming up in the playoffs and the last couple of games of the season.
No doubt about it. They've got to figure out. We got to focus on things other than the baloney, according to Kurt Analfo. I think if we focus on the baloney, we actually get to figure out what's actually wrong with the sandwich. Who's your green light this week?
I've been wanting to do this all season long, and I don't know if you guys are going to like it or not, but give me Atlanta United. Wow. I want to buy all the stocks on Atlanta United. People who've been selling, who still don't believe, that are still trying to sell, bring them over, man. I'll buy all the Atlanta United stock that you can. I get that Gonzalo still wants more balance. Fans still want more balance, a more defensive and calm and a team that maybe manages things a little bit better. But this attack, this team, Mayuamba's been absolutely fantastic. Saba and Silva have been incredible. As long as Gigi stays healthy, man, for me, he's the best pure nine up there in the box. That's the best nine in the league for me. So I think that this team has shown that with the right pieces, with the Gonzalo Pineda that now can use the full gambit of players that he can, has been able to manage games better, plan different ways to attack, different ways to come at teams. That 4-1 game that they just went through, yes, I understand that it's not something that maybe you were not expecting out of Montreal, but Montreal's not as a bad team as people think, right? They have some pieces. They are well coached. So I think that Atlanta United going into the playoffs with the type of inertia, the type of momentum that they're building, they're going to be hard to beat, man. Almada's going to be Almada. Gigi's going to be Gigi. I think in the back line, if Robinson can have good games and they can keep a lot of players behind the ball, and Luis Abram doesn't make mistakes, and with Lennon and with Wiley, if you're able to just be very selective of when they push and the way they move, this is a team that can have some balance that people want. But on offense, I feel like they have goals for days. They're not Columbus in terms of goals. Like, they're not the most dangerous team in the attacking side, but I think they're up there. I think they're up there in the East. I would take them on the attacking end over teams like New England Revolution. I would put them right next to a team like Cincinnati that I think depends a lot of what Lucho can do. But this Atlanta team, for me, deserves to be in the green, and I'm buying all the stocks that you guys want to sell me.
Wow.
Let me talk to you.
There you go. So Niko busting all of that out. Man. All right. We're going to have to remember that one. All right. Juice boxes this week. And it is, I was looking at the grid and I'm going, man, this weekend is kind of when you were staring at it. But there's one matchup that kind of sticks with you. And as we look at things in the juice boxes, out of the blocks at 7:30, it's Crew and Union. Crew is a -119, draws a +295. Union are a +284. Out of the blocks in the 7:30s, you get that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's definitely one of the few games that you can maybe want to sit down and watch the whole thing. I probably would go with Columbus. I think Philadelphia is a team that has been so inconsistent all season long. And as much as I like Bueno in the midfield, and I like Gazdag at times, and I like Ure at times, and I like Carranza at times, there are times where they don't show up. And I can't trust a team like that against a team like Columbus. What's the breakdown on Columbus? And is there an over-under?
-119 is Columbus. There's always a total where we can sit here and figure out the dance on it. And when it loads, I'll be able to tell it to you because for some reason the computer is just not waking up this morning. Over/under. All right, so give me a number, and we'll lay out the totals. What number do you? All right, so do you want 2.5 or 3.5?
Let me get 2.5.
2.5 is a -179.
Oh.
3.5 is a +138. So basically, you were right on. 3 is where it changes from a negative to a positive. So 3.5 is a +138. 4.5 is a +330.
Might be a little too rich for me, but it will be a good game. I wouldn't put any juice boxes on that one, to be quite frank, because I do think Columbus will take this game, but I don't think it'll go beyond the 3. So the 3.5 is going to kill your pocket. Therefore, I would stay absolutely away from it. But how about that Inter Miami New York City game? Because that game is going to make or break either team, I think, right? New York City is right there. They're at the door. They're over the line right now. But I think this could really knock them down. And the Inter Miami, with everything that just happened in Open Cup, they're going to want to have this. That's going to be their saving grace, is trying to make the miracle happen, trying to get Messi the MVP, if he can pull that miracle off. So that's a big game. What's the numbers on that one?
Inter Miami is a slight minus at a -103. Obviously not knowing who's going to be able to play and turn around. You sat out Jordi Alba, you sat out Messi. Busquets did play. New York City is a +252 on the road. Your draw is a +276.
Wow. You know what? And what's Miami minus what?
103.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. Maybe the draw would be interesting in that one. How about what's the over on goals? What's the 3? 3.5.
All right, so let me check the 3.5 here with our friends. 3.5 is a +210.
Okay. All right. Maybe I'll just do the over on this one, just the 3.5. I would like to say it's going to be a draw, but honestly, I think Inter Miami is going to push this game differently. I think New York City has lost their identity. They haven't been able to really dictate games lately. That midfield looks a sham, and they've kind of gone back to just, we're going to maybe play with a lot of numbers behind the ball. We're going to just try to make it difficult and maybe pull off a goal here and there. They're just not that attacking team anymore. They might give Inter Miami the ball and allow them to get into this game, settle into this game, allow Farias to get behind them at times, or make them break them down. But I think Miami can do that. So I'm going to go with Miami on this one, but I would only put it on the over.
All right. Other 7:30s are kind of dogs. Charlotte at the Revs, Fire at Red Bulls, Montreal at Orlando City, Cincinnati's at Toronto. 8:30, you've got Copa Tejas. Houston Dynamo's a minus. They won a title. I don't know if they're going to have the folks to care. They still may be hungover when they host FC Dallas. Minnesota United's hosting the Quakes. Your Sounders are on the road at Nashville. Nashville's an even money plus 100. Draws a plus 252, and the Sounders to win it are a plus 267.
Wow. Very interesting. So let's do just two more because I know we're running out of time. Let's go with Seattle. I think the Seattle Sounders are definitely a team that in this one, I'm not quite sure if they could pull off the win. I would like to say that they can, but Nashville's a tough team to play at home. Nashville is very well structured. If there's something that Seattle hasn't been able to do lately, score a lot of goals, stay on, clicked on for 90 minutes. Not sure if Raul Ruidiaz is going to be ready for this game, and I'm not sure if Jordan Morris is the right guy that you want against this particular structure of play. Leo Chu's going to have his hands full as well. There's a lot of veteran, a lot of grit of this Nashville team, and I think Seattle might have to rely on some younger players, and that's why I'll go with the draw on that one, and I'll definitely put some juice boxes on it for sure.
All right, the fourth official held up the sign, so he knew we were going over. It's all good. The I-74 Derby, all caps in Sporting Kansas City. The Rabid Prairie Dogs, Colorado, coming off of the 2-2 draw with Vancouver, hosting Austin. LAG hosting Portland. Vancouver goes back home against DC. Sunday, LAFC hosting RSL. What else do you want to talk about?
All right, so obviously LAC, RSL is a big one just because of the standings, and there could be like a flip, right? RSL could go over the top of LAFC if they win this game, and it's one to watch. But I think the money might be on that Portland LA Galaxy one. Can you give me the numbers on that one? I know that it's a game that Portland needs. It's a game that is obviously going to be on the road, but I think there's going to be some money on that one.
LAG is a minus 103, same as Inter Miami. Draws a plus 287. Zombie Timbers are a plus 242. What do you think?
Give me the Zombies, and give me 3.5 on this one as well. For the over on this one. There's going to be a lot of goals in this one, in my opinion. I mean, not just basing it off of the last 3-3 between Austin and LAG, but Portland can put up some goals. They also have some problems in the back. I think Baby Sharp has been really, really good all around with the LA Galaxy. They feel a little bit different, and having that poacher in the 18 has been good for LA Galaxy. So I think this might be a back and forth game, but I'll give it to the heart, the grit of Portland. So give me Portland plus the 3.5.
At a plus 143. So that is on the plus side for you. If you're really adventurous, your 4.5 is a plus 330. What's going on at Soccer Bar and Pulso Sports, my friend?
All righty, Soccer Bar. We will be on 9 o'clock. Actually, we just moved it up in time. So 9 o'clock is going to be about 45 minutes. I'll have to get prepared. And we're going to talk Campeones. We're going to talk MLS. We're going to talk about this Sounders logo as well, all in Spanish. Check out Pulso Sports, man. We have a lot of imagery of the celebration that happened at the Museum of Music and Pop here in Seattle. Very cool atmosphere. Adrian Hanauer talked about the Shield. Stephen Fry, Brian Smetzer. We also caught up with Adrian Hanauer on the blue carpet that they had. It was really, really cool. So go ahead and check that out. And big one here on Monday, show Soccer Bar. And in Pulso Sports, you'll get the whole interview. We're sitting down with Cucho Hernandez. For me, one of the most talented forwards in this league. Obviously, Hispanic Heritage Month, having a Colombian international that, to me, should be getting called up for the national team. Very talented, MVP candidate. We're going to have that on Monday, both at Soccer Bar and Pulso Sports.
Looking forward to it. Note for you, we've got some other news to get into before we go, but before you go, just to let you know, Abdoulaye Sissoko from Defiance was named to the MLS Next Pro Best 11 this year. So representation from Tacoma Defiance. Abdoulaye Sissoko on the back line for MLS Next Pro Best 11. So, my friend, thanks as always, and we will catch up with you again at El Rolo NW, at Sports Pulso, at the Soccer Bar, busiest man in the Pacific Northwest, hell, busiest man on the West Coast. Niko, my friend, we'll catch up with you again next week. Catch your breath because we know you're back at it in 45 minutes.
Thank you, John. Have a good one.